then continue. So before we continue, I would like to say that we have heard concerns about the observers that how they can give their inputs to the process, and I must apologize that I at least myself, I was so excited about this great post that maybe I went a little bit too fast. But the floor will be opened before the decision of any agenda item for observers for their comments. So we are going to follow that now onwards, and if you feel that you should intervene, so please do so. But in every agenda item, there will be a space for observers to intervene. Sorry if my chairing was so poor in the morning that you felt that you were left out. And then we continue the discussion where we were left in the morning. Sorry. Japan.
Good afternoon, colleagues, and thank you for giving me a floor. And then sorry for the coming back this issue again. So having you saying that some of the process was not clear to the observer. So do you have any space to consider that we could come back to the agenda item which you have already adopted? Since we are not sure where we can interact to the discussion. And then before we understand the process for the discussion, and before we make sure the process for the process, it was some of the agenda item was adopted. So I just want to ask the co-chairs whether if there's any space that we can come back to the agenda item which already adopted. Thanks.
Well, we are willing to listen to you, but the decisions, of course, are made among the PCCB members. So, what agenda item you mean exactly? Yeah, let's see that first. What agenda item you mean?
Perhaps I am interested in, if you are allowed to me, it could be like modality and procedures. Modality and procedures.
Okay. So please tell what is your concern, and as I said earlier, that the decisions are made by the PCCB, but observers are of course listened. So, Mikko.
Thank you for giving me the chance to make some comment regarding to the modality and the procedures. So I have been involving the capacity building negotiations, and then we had made some decisions in the session regarding to the modality and the procedures. But what we see in the text, I mean, in the document, is a little bit different what we saw in the session, and which is because I believe that it's because of that some of the other bodies' experiences is combined and created the new documents. And then if you could explore each of the procedure one by one, if you have a time to do that, it's really helpful for us to understand what's the background of each procedure. Does that make sense?
Chairman, thank you for your intervention, but I understand that all the PCCB members have had the appropriate time to read through all the documents, and then among ourselves discussed on that, and made also questions and answers, I hope, from the Secretariat. So in that sense, I understand that there were no questioning among the PCCB members on those, but as I said, we are really willing to listen. So if there is a specific point you would like to raise to our attention, so please do so. Yes.
With apologies, I don't know how to work the microphone. As this is my first time taking the floor, I would just like to join others in congratulating Maddie and Mohammed on your co-chairmanships, and thank you for your excellent chairing this morning. I guess I would just like to jump in and maybe echo some of the comments that's been made by my colleague from Japan. And thank you, Maddie, for your clarification around the role of observers. Would it be possible, and I know that this item has already closed and fully appreciate the comments that you've made about that, but would it be possible to reflect what you have said about the role of observers in the modalities and procedures document? As you did mention earlier when the item was open, that would be the way that we would proceed in terms of engaging with observers throughout the agenda items, if it would be possible to potentially reflect that now. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, we can indicate that in the report. Okay, so let's return where we were left before the lunch. And okay, yep, we already agreed about the focus area, but as a matter of fact, that is only one part of the decision. When we have decided on the focus area, we have to decide also on what are then the constituted bodies and financial mechanism bodies which are going then to be invited for the next meeting as PCCB meeting to attend the meeting. So okay. Now there is the focus area, and we agreed that it will be the implementation of nationally determined contributions in the context of the Paris Agreement, which was already the top, or it is actually the topic of this year. But then the bodies. So this year, the bodies which were invited to the meeting of PCCB were Global Environment Facility, Green Climate Fund, the Adaptation Committee, the Least Developed Countries Expert Group, the Standing Committee on Finance, the Technology Executive Committee. On the top of that, the representatives of other bodies established under the convention and the operating entities of the financial mechanisms are invited to identify representatives to collaborate, and particularly encourages the representative of CTCN to participate in the meeting of PCCB. So, if you allow me, because we are going to have the same topic, so that we continue with the same composition of the bodies. So the floor is open. I see nodding. So let's try again. Hearing no objections. It's so decided. Thank you. Okay, and then this will be Crispin.
Matti, I am all for being proactive, but I am careful about being prescriptive, because we have not yet engaged in any substantive or substantial discussion on the actual material discussion yet. And so while I have no problem in principle with these bodies being the ones present at the next meeting, based on what we will discuss, we might decide, hey, look, we may want to take a particular angle, next year, and so then I would, and then it might be a slightly different mix of who we think should be there. So I wouldn't want to preclude that possibility. So while I in principle have no objection, but I want us to get there when we get there, as opposed to making a decision ahead of time. Okay, if you understand my meaning, that's the way I'm seeing it, and I'm particularly keen on getting on seeing where the discussion on the substantive issues lead us. In addition to that, based on the discussion that we were having this morning, I was asking myself, what are the kind of capacities and the capacity we were talking about gaps? What are the kind of capacity gaps or constraints that pertain to, for example, NDCs in particular? Okay, that is the kind of question that is going to be intrinsic and critical to the work that we're doing for this year. So, in a sense, right, I'm wondering whether we have the sequencing right. Right. So I'm just throwing this out here after lunch. Okay. So to help to aid digestion, right, of both thoughts and the food.
Thanks, Crispin, and actually, Mohammed and me, we were thinking the same thing during the lunch, and if you allow me, I make a new proposal on the basis what Crispin just said, that actually we decide the bodies on Saturday when we have more understanding that what we really need. Okay. Thank you. And now the next issue is actually, we were already discussing about what is the form of our work plan, and we were leaning towards the rolling work plan, because we are going to continue the same topic, and the sequencing gives us better possibilities for prioritization and so on. So the members have already a template of that, but if the secretariat can put it also on the screen, so the others see that how it could look like. So on the left column, there are the decisions and what the decisions have ordered us to do. So that is what we have to report to SBI, and then through SBI to COP that what we have done on those issues. If you can scroll a little bit, that people see that. So we have to report on this, that what we have done. And now there is an activity column, which is the column number 2 from the left, and it's completely empty. And then this it means that it's our task now to fill that. I mean, the whole room. We want your inputs, that what you feel, that what would be the appropriate activities. And this is something we hope that we could then fill and finalize by the end of our meeting. Then there is the third column in the middle, which tells that in the decision that which kind of deliverable we should have on the basis of the decision. And finally, then there are the years 2017, 2018, 2019. So then we can look at what we've now here initially in our first meeting think that how this work will proceed. So this is sort of skeleton of our work plan, and our task is to fill it during our meeting, thinking what could be there tomorrow when we hear a lot of good presentations, and then we have our group discussions, and then further on Saturday, and finally we should have something complete and nice ready in the end of Saturday. So if you allow me, I propose that we accept this skeleton of the work plan, and the floor is open for your comments. Rita?
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair, and good afternoon to everyone. I don't want to disturb the flow of the information you're giving us, but maybe I would like to go a step back if you allow me, and it's also, I was, after we finished the discussions before lunch, I assumed that when we came back, we would take a look at the matrix that is in Annex 2 of Document 4, because in Annex 2 the matrix has activities, possible actions, potentially linked activities within clusters, and potentially linked activities outside of clusters, and potential sequencing of activities. All of this regarding the reporting mandates in order to achieve coherence and coordination. And in that sense, the first activity identified is the gaps and needs. And I had some questions about this and some ideas, but that's why I say respectfully, I don't know if I'm taking you a step back. I don't know if it's because we never finished going over this. And in that sense, I think we still have some clarity to discuss. Specifically, if we go to the first one in gaps and needs, I think we have to be clear. In order to have a gap analysis, we need to be clear, what do we have and what do we expect to have? What are the achievables in order to achieve the long-term vision, the ambition, the long-term goal of the Paris Agreement, Therefore, I think there is a gap analysis, and in order to do this gap analysis, we have to balance both what do we have and what should we have to achieve the goal, the ambition goal of the Paris Agreement. Therefore, I thought we were going to discuss some of this, because we do need to be, as the executive secretary said, clearly we have to work in a transformational manner in order to achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius. We all know that science has presented us with the reality of today, and today is 3.4 Celsius. Therefore, we have a big gap to fill. And in order to fill that gap and to have an analysis of that, this is where we probably could identify specifically, once we know what we want. Well, we know what we want, but we have to see what we have, and then how can we fill that gap. So this was one of the main ideas that I had. And then for the second one, on the promotion of development and dissemination of tools and methodologies, the tools and methodologies, again, we were presented with the what do you call it? The secretary presented the portal. Thank you very much. We don't have, because we're talking about tools and methodologies, but there is no, today we still don't have a manual to know how we're going to achieve this long-term goal. Therefore, it's something that we have to discuss in order to find, to design probably these tools and methodologies so we can achieve the ambition and so forth. So that is my first intervention, and I would like some clarity. If, like I said, I don't want to take you back, but I think we have to land this first. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita. And before I give the floor for Secretariat to explain that what is the relation between two tables, I would like to ask you that, are you proposing that we add one column where we try to formalize somehow what is our goal?
That could do. But I'd have to hear everyone else, how they feel about it, and what are their thoughts on this. And yes, and then go into the matrix that you just presented us, that maybe we just need to add another column, like you say, or any ideas. I would like to hear my colleagues. Thank you.
But if I give the floor to Secretariat to explain what is the relation of these tables.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Well, the table on Annex 2 is an effort to provide details on precisely what's in the column. What are the actions based on the concept of clusters that it's presented in Annex 1, where we try to cluster thematically all the activities that are contained in the work plan, capacity building work plan, and looking at also the outcomes of the third review. So trying to categorize in some sense these activities to better manage what actions could be defined along these clusters. So that's what you have in Annex 2. And a potential sequencing of activities that it's linked to the concept of a rolling work plan in terms of what happens first and what it's linked to what. That's why we have this column on the linkages amongst clusters, because the nature of the activities, one activity could inform the work of another and vice versa. That's why we're linking it to the clusters. But again, this it's a way to present the entire menu, if you wish, of what the PCCB can or should do, and how it links in between the different activities. The template that Matti just presented was just an attempt to put this concept in the Annex 2 into a more of a work plan type of template without maybe going into excessive details. And again, matching the areas of the work plan with activities and deliverables. So, and then that's why at the top you see management overseeing of the 2016-20 work plan. So that's the whole set of actions that relate to the work plan specifically. And well, there is the issue of the annual focus area team and all the activities that could relate to that. Is an approach agreed on looking at it holistically from the lenses of the focus area team. If you scroll, and then you have the linkages with other bodies. So it's looking at the broad spectrum of the work of the PCCB. So the Annex 2 is, for example, not covering this aspect of linkages or modalities and procedures. So it was just an attempt to see how we can take the next step to identify those activities, general activities that would be undertaken, and maybe some of the deliverables. But again, it's just an attempt to try to go towards that. But if the members wish to have maybe a previous discussion using this as a basis, that's up to the committee. But I mean, in terms of the actions that are suggested for the committee to take in terms of coming out of this meeting with a work plan, be it rolling or annual work plan, so that this could be informed to the COP through the SBI. I hope that helps.
So, so is it so that trying to have a three-dimensional thinking, that in our mind that there is a three-dimensional table when these two are merged, that there are the possible actions go to this activity column, and then it continues behind the table, having the potential linked activity with cluster and so on. So it requires a little bit three-dimensional imagination, but the right way to think it.
Yes, to some extent, yes, in the sense that, again, it has to do, I guess, to the level of exhaustiveness of a work plan that's presented to the COP, which it forms the guiding document for the PCCB to report and to be accountable for their work in terms of what it's portrayed in a work plan. So in a way, yes, it's a bit three-dimensional in the sense that, for example, these activities are somewhat mirror in the template, but then the actions are still a suggestion, because you might, based on what the committee wish to prioritize, either think of a subset of actions or and then which actions could be undertaken in the various years. 2017, 2019. By the way, it's until 2019 because 2020 is the review of the PCCB. So that's why there's not a column for 2020. Maybe that's just an additional detail to highlight.
Yeah, that's a good reminder that the COP is going to look at us 2019, that how well we have performed. So, Yang Chang.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Secretariat, for the explanation. Well, just continue what I said in the morning session, like we are handling a lot of things at this moment, and we can jump from here to there, and we could not get the central logic of the whole capacity building issues. Well, I think these tables are helpful, but let's just jump from out this table and let's try to find a logic way how we could imagine the whole picture of capacity building. Well, since we have when we're dealing with climate change, we have two actions. One is mitigation, the other is adaptation. So the capacity building activities, or we try to build capacity for these two actions, all under these two columns or two pillars to dealing with climate change. Let's just try to brainstorm to try and find a solution. So what about we just try to build guidelines for the capacity building activities or things related with capacity to this, attach them to these two pillars, like this is for adaptation, this is for for mitigation. By this way, we have a clear guidance. The first kind of structure of capacity building is the Marrakesh Accord, the 15 areas identified by the framework. But after those years, it changes. How about let's try to draw another new picture, including all those informations in what come recently and previously. And well, quick check how to do it. Yeah, we have the annual theme focus on NDC. It's a very important part because parties all brought their needs or gaps in their NDC. This is one of the important source for us to build up to set up these guidelines. And also there are other informations we could take from other existing bodies or other related organization, other sources. So based on this whole picture, then we could combine this clearly logic and holistic picture. And then we combine it. It can be a guidance at the top, and then we combine our work plan into this guidance. I don't know if I make myself clear, but this is the idea I have. First, we have the clear picture about capacity and the climate change, capacity building and the climate change, and then let's try combine our work to maybe combine is not the perfect word, but to use that one guidance, our work for the work plan to get practical. Thank you. I hope I could bring some in this room. Thank you.
Thanks, Yang Zhang. I tried to follow you. You mean about the guidance? I'm still a bit unclear. That since we have those, so to say, orders from COP, and then could you clarify a little bit this guidance issue? I'm a little bit lost. Jennifer?
Well, it's, I know your concern. It's just like in China, we have old saying, if you want to do something, you need to sharpen your tools. Right now, we have no tools for how to do our work. It's just like we have a box of balls, but we don't know which one we should play and which one is the essential ones we need to start. So if we could have a general picture of these things, and then we could just, we have very clear directions, then we could dig in. No, this is my idea. And if it's still not clear, I need to ask Jen for help.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Maddie. First, I just want to join the concern of Rita's concerns and Sam's concerns about the way that we've been discussing our work program. It just feels that we have a lot of angles, like we are coming from different angles, and we're just not clear where should we start doing our work. what I think Zhang is trying to say is basically the whole point of the work program is or Paris Agreement, right? So you do have two coins, like no, one coin and two sides of the coin. So you have the mitigation and adaptation side. Let's choose one. It's either mitigation or let's choose adaptation. I recall that in the last phone call, the sense of the group was, let's focus on the mitigation side first, just to keep on the momentum and the timing of the whole UNFCCC process, and mostly to the research on dialogue in 2018, so we can have some results, some activities to actually show the progress on that research dialogue. I'm good that far, right?
Just continue.
Okay, I'm good that far. There's another point. And I would like to thank so much to the Secretariat to do this work, this analysis. This table is really great because it gives us a guideline of each activity that the PCCB is trying to do and the possible actions on how we're gonna get that activity to actually be implemented. And at the first one, we saw this table, and I think that's how Rita saw it as well, is the work program. And we're like, no, okay. So I understand Rita's point that it will be easier or clear that to add another column to say that with these activities, this is what the goal are we pursuing? Probably yes. It will be much clearer, but either way, we actually need to choose on a framework to develop our work program. And I'm just gonna put it there so we can have a brainstorm ideas and just let's discuss how we're gonna move forward with the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, of course, this has been thought very well. Well, it's complicated to understand how it has all been organized, but I follow it because I've been going through it, and it has been a great effort. And it has the objective of this is to give us the ideas in order to organize our work to go to move forward. But I wanted to ask Yongxiang, when you talk about guidelines, what are you talking about exactly? Because for me, the guidelines come from the Paris Agreement and the decision at COP. So we need to kind of establish the terminology we're going to use for what we mean. Otherwise, we are going, like Jennifer says, in different angles. So if you could just clarify, what do you mean by guidelines? And
Yang-Chang, before you reply, a follow-up for that, because if you look at Annex 2 table, there is almost in the end of all these possible action boxes, there is in the end drafting possible conclusions and recommendations. Is that the guidelines you are thinking, or is it something different?
Sorry. Yeah. The English is not my mother tongue. Sometimes I just use the word jump to my mind. And so the guidelines, I check the dictionary. It's what I mean is kind of like a handbook or guidebook, which it's more like a dictionary if you want. He also doesn't understand what I'm saying. So it's like how to say, inventory or something like that. If you check, so for example, if we want to do mitigation and there's certain capacity we need, right? And this could be in, wow, Crispin. So the guidelines is kind of, just a moment, menu or territory, totally, this one, this one, this.
Tutorial.
Yeah, it's kind of like this. So you have all your activities clustered by certain logic manner. Like it belongs to either mitigation or adaptation, how it's related with others. So we need to have a main idea to stand like a pillar there, and then we have structures like a tree. This is the main stem, and then there's different things related with capacity building, but it's closed on this, grows on this big stem. And then we could do, how to say, yeah, just like this figure, there's a tree, you have different branches, like this, and we have this picture, yeah.
So you're trying to do like a flow chart.
Okay, then, yeah. It's just like this, and then you will clear what are these activities belongs. It could connect with this or that, who will do this kind of activities, who will deliver these activities, and which kind of support you see, and the best experience has exist with here or there. And well, it's also a huge task to get all those, to cluster those information into a very reasonable or logic way.
I'll take a shot at the chair. I'll take a shot.
Yeah, I try to imagine. So how about the tutorial? So you in China, Crispin in St. Lucia. I just think that the China and St. Lucia are quite different countries. So are they using the same tutorial, and do we really manage to have everything on that book?
Mr. Chair, Co-Chair, can I have a suggestion? Could we formulate or reformulate or to make the concrete of Annex 2 on Saturday? Is it possible? Because what we are discussing now is very substantial issues, and it's about the big picture of capacity building, and we would like to make the logical sequence of the work. So we'll help on the work plan for annual work plan, and also for 5 years work plan. So is it possible for us to formulate the Annex 2 on Saturday? So tomorrow you'll have a discussion, so we can get some inputs and enrich for the Annex 2, especially the clustering and sequencing is very important. So it has a strong implication to the work plan. So with the table that we need to fill in on Saturday. So my suggestion is could we Annex 2 can be finished on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair, and let me also join others in just saying that looking at what we are supposed to be doing in terms of the work plan, I think this is the most important, the crucial work of the Secretariat. Yeah, because it's a tool work of it's a tool that the PCCB will use to actually undertake its activities, and also to ensure that we respond to the mandate as given in various decisions that were adopted by the COP. One important issue that we need to actually critically analyze is the sequencing of the the events when we are actually preparing our work plan, the annual work plan. One would have thought that the basis for us to undertake this particular exercise, looking at maybe the first one would be to look at those activities that actually were proposed in the terms of references for the PCCB. So I'm tempted to use the secretariat, but it's a PCCB. And also, if you walk through the decisions, also you realize that the PCCB was also given a mandate in terms of looking at how it can actually foster synergy with other bodies, and also looking and also the aspect of the third review as part of the work plan. So what I would recommend is that looking at those particular clusters would have actually come up with the what the secretariat is proposing there. In the other, then we look at what is the possible action or expected activity on those particular issues that I've mentioned. If you look at what is in the annual work plan, and then we sequence them in such a way that they respond also to the annual theme for this particular year, in ensuring that there is that cohesion on the activities that we are implementing or that we are proposing to implement with the focus of for that particular year. I thought that the starting point was going to be the cluster of activities that you had provided. We look at them, and then we do some analysis where we could maybe draw some actually a line in terms of ensuring that maybe on each and every potential mandate that was given to us is being actually responded to through a particular activity as contained in this particular one. So we do analysis of this one, then we go back to our the other table, including is it the column that has been suggested to say what is the target on this one, and what are the activities that are expected. So maybe, Chair, what I'm trying to say is the sequencing of how we move is very critical, because we cannot just see comprehensively pick everything, but we need to focus on the mandate and also what should be our target in relation to the annual theme. Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you, Richard. And before I give to Vidis the floor, may I ask from the Secretariat that this table, which is in the Annex 2 with the clustering, which is now on the wall, so does it include all these issues which are in our mandate? Yeah, I hope so too, but I want to be sure.
Thank you, Co-Chair. It includes, I'm still there. It includes mostly the quote-unquote substantive work, thematic work, aligned with the activities of the work plan and looking at the outcomes of the third review. It does not include work on linkages or working modalities on procedures, which is included in the other template. But the essence of the thematic work is included in this annex. So looking at the activities from the capacity building work plan.
So the answer is that that we have to still think, yeah, about there's Vidis and then Rita, but we still have to still have to think that we fill all the requirements of our mandate. So we
Thank you. When I was looking at this, I actually think that this table is pretty good, and I would think this one in the in Annex 2 in document number 4, this one. To my mind, so we have 6 pages of possible activities that we're going to undertake. We have 1 meeting, and ideally, I would pick 1 page and do the 1 page, and I understand that we can't do that. But to me, it makes sense if we add another column and we try to clarify what kind of activity are we talking about? What kind of output will this lead to? So the identification of capacity gaps, will that lead to a report? Will it lead to a meeting? Will it lead to another portal? What are we thinking about? Because then it makes then I can actually understand if this is at all possible or if we're just reaching way over our capacity.
Thank you very much. I think this discussion is very fruitful because effectively what we need to understand is exactly how we're going to approach the filling up of the other matrix. Because the matrix, the other matrix that you presented is to be filled out. But what my question was originally was, since we have this, that is the clusters of activities that the Secretariat organized, since we didn't look at it, why I asked when are we going to approach, when are we going to review this, and if we are going to review this. Then the other question is, what is the relationship between the two? And then we would have to look at the matrix, the other matrix, but the question was, what is the order of work? I mean, do we jump into the empty matrix before we see this? Why would that be? There must be some logic to it in order to organize our work, because I understand what is that we have to do for the work plan. But we would have to see what is the relationship between the two and go from there on in order to just be clear the process of our following steps. Thank you very much.
Crispin?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I don't want to complicate matters, but I'm hoping to complicate them for a little bit and then simplify them. One of the things, what has been going through my mind for quite a while now is the fact that yes, we have a work plan to 2020, but we also have a theme. Okay, if I remember correctly, the theme has to do with NDCs. Am I correct? Now, to me, I would be at a total loss to have a theme on NDCs, but don't link it back to my work plan. Whatever we choose to be our theme for the year has to be able to link with the implementation of our work plan. Otherwise, there's a serious disconnect. So we have to link the two. Now, looking at the matrix that we had, and Annex 2, the one that is for ease of reference, the one that is currently on the wall. Okay. I think that and taking into consideration what my friend is saying, okay. My colleague objects to my old friend. I don't mean old as in age. I mean old as in long association. And if your name like Young's young, no matter how, you'll always be young. All right. So, but I'm thinking, if for the sake of argument, we could use the thematic area and identify what are some of the capacity gaps and needs with respect to the implementation of NDCs. Okay. What do the NDCs that we have received from developing country parties say, if anything, about the needs, the constraints that they may have? What does the third the comprehensive review say that could be relevant to that? Okay, these are some of the things I'm thinking. These are some of the inputs which could help us to determine. And even if we're not necessarily preparing a case book on every capacity building need, but that will serve as a good case study, a good model perhaps that we could use to move, as we move forward in the coming years. And then based on that, the next step would be identifying and promoting the dissemination of tools and so on, methodologies and specific interventions that could help to address some of these constraints. So that is one way of looking at it, right? Our theme, so we could focus our work in terms of identifying needs and identifying solutions and interventions. So those first two rows here, with as specifically as they put into our thematic area for the year, and that I think would give us a good start, and it would allow us to not be all over the place, but to focus on a particular area, which would provide a basis for progress, and which could be widened in years to come, or taken in a different direction in a different thematic area in subsequent years. So I hope you get the sense of where I'm going with this, but I'm thinking that could be a good start. Thank you.
Thank you, Crispin. So do I read you right if I say that your first priorities will be the identification of gaps and needs, and the second priority is to create tools and methodologies?
Yes, Chair, to identify there may be some already in use, and what best practice is already emerging. Two, although it's still pretty new in the game, and secondly, promoting tools and methodologies and other interventions that and also partnerships that could help in addressing the specific needs of with respect to NDC implementation. But our theme, like I'm saying, I think we can relate those two to our theme. So it's so that you're not looking at identifying all gaps and needs for all capacity building, but you're trying to focus it onto the NDCs. And some NDCs, I think, already may have given maybe less, because parties weren't directly stating that or asked to state that. But I think some parties may already have, in the NDCs, may have identified areas, and it could be possible that through other tools, for example, a survey or something of the sort, that we could get information on what are the particular constraints. I'm just being unscientific. Okay, what are your top 3 constraints, in terms of implementing your NDC? Okay, recognizing, of course, the useful work of the Jeff in trying to address the transparency aspect of it, but in terms of the actual implementation of the NDC that you can then report on. All right. So in other words, it's good to have the capacity to report, but if you have nothing to report on because you have other constraints, then that's also a problem. So, I think that is something that perhaps we could do to get some more specific information from parties if they're so inclined.
I'm just wondering if this is not what the Secretariat has tried to do in the Annex 1 in document number 7, where they have added a column talking about possible approach to joint implementation of pillars 1 and 2, and added that everything should be kind of considered in relation to the annual theme of the PCCB.
Chair, that may be so, but I think in my intervention, I'm actually suggesting specific ways of actually getting the information that we require so that we can take it forward.
By the PCCB /217, but /1 and 7, they say, as my colleague here from Norway say, he said that the secretary was made, but for me, my concerns, the guideline of reporting. The guidelines of reporting in terms of capacity building, and they come back to the capacity gaps and needs at national level. So the guideline for reporting by the UN agency or others activities on at national level or regional level. So regarding what it is made in the portal, so we have to look at the reporting so that can help to enhance other activities.
Well, this, if I understand right, the work plan is a general document, and then it's what we are proposing here is its overall structure, how it could look like. And then what we have in the Annex 2, it's already going to substance. And it's proposing activities, possible actions. It's also proposing that what are then the outcomes, like recommendations and so on. So they are not competing documents. So I have a proposal for the way forward, but as already stated in the beginning of this session, the floor for the observers, if the members, okay. I don't see any request for the floor. So I'm proposing that we don't, the only decision what we are going to do now is that the rolling work plan is the type of the work plan we are working towards. And then we will decide Saturday, when we have heard the discussions and presentations tomorrow and today after tomorrow. And then we also then have a good idea about the priorities, about the sequencing, about the activities, what we can really do. So we park these both documents and we have them all the time on our table and in our minds, and see that what are the appropriate actions, what are the appropriate time schedule for those actions, what is our vision, what we want to reach, and then finally put our work plan together in a final form on Saturday. If that's agreeable, it's so decided. Thank you. So now I hand over to Mohammed.
Thank you, Matti. We would now propose to move to issue of linkage with the constituted body under the convention, document PCCB 2017/1/6. When looking at many of the mandates provided by the PCCB, it becomes clear that close interaction and collaboration with the other constituted bodies will be of vital importance. There is great interest also on the side of other constituted bodies to engage with the PCCB. For example, the SCF co-chairs in an official communication issued at the end of March containing the work plan of the SCF for 2017. Which is also available to the USB sticks that have been distributed to you, indicated that the SCF looks forward to engage closely with the PCCB on climate finance related matters and draw the attention of the PCCB on climate finance and draw the attention of the PCCB to specify tasks of the SCF in 2017, which may be of particular interest of the PCCB. As outlined in the background document prepared by the Secretariat, the PCCB will be invited first to identify the area of PCCB work relevant for maintaining linkage with other constituted body under the convention, to consider the ongoing work of other constituted bodies, including how this work could relate to its activities, and to appoint dedicated focal point. We would ensure such consideration as well as liaise with the relevant body appropriate. To agree on the modalities of maintaining linkage with the constituted body, I would like now to open the floor for initial reaction and view on this subjection, and particularly also the representative for other constitutive body. The floor is is yours. No, the floor is for all. Floor is for a member for PCCB. Okay. Any reaction? Rita.
I'm sorry, I keep asking questions. It's just to clarify. In my document 5, we are, it's a background paper on the maintenance and further development of the web-based capacity building portal. And in the screen, I see decisions, areas of work, the ongoing work with other constituted bodies and modalities. So I'm a bit lost.
It's document
again.
6. Yes.
Okay. See, thank you very much.
Yeah. Ronald?
For me, I think it is okay for this.
What's okay? What?
They expecting action by the party committee on capacity building. For example, to identify areas of PCCB work relevant for maintaining linkage with other constituent bodies under the convention. We have already some who are observers.
So about the focal point, for example.
Secondary is to consider the ongoing work on the other constituent body, including how this work could relate to its activities, and to appoint a dedicated focal point who would ensure such consideration as well as liaise with the relevant body as appropriate. I don't see any problem with that.
But how you can see the interaction between the other bodies
in my humble views, I think, for example, like financing. If GF or GCF, we have one of them. If they they have common to understand one represent them, themselves, they choose one focal point. In my view, I don't have any inconvenience.
Okay. Any?
Yeah, but is asking for the floor.
No, but
Yeah,
the
sure.
member, yes. Okay. Okay, CTCN. Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I just wanted to thank you already for having asked the different thematic bodies under the convention to provide you with the information on the capacity building that we already is conducting. So we have provided that information, and that was is already included in the website that you saw before lunch. On the question of related work, we would very much like to share our lessons learned with the PCCB. And we would also like you to, if possible, if your committee could look at the different lessons learned from the different on capacity building from the different thematic bodies and see if there are something that you can say in general that we should take a particularly put attention to in our work, that would be useful. We can also provide you, if needed, with the information on the capacity building needs regarding technology in the different countries.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. What I'm trying to figure out is how B and C these B and C consider the ongoing work and appoint focal points and agree the modalities for maintaining linkages. I think these questions need to be answered, need to be addressed together, because appointing focal points is just probably one means, but seeing how that's going to work, how will those focal points actually work, and how will they get the information and exchange information is the other issue. So it's almost you can't answer one without having satisfactorily addressed the other. And in fact, one could argue that appointing dedicated focal points may actually be part of point C. So we need to figure that out. I mean, if you have a focal point, will that focal point have a counterpart in the other entity who he or she can get the information from? Is it that he or she be expected to be to observe, that kind of thing, or is it to monitor the website? I think these are some of the nitty-gritty issues we need to understand, and understand what the functions of that focal point would be, if that is the modality that we're adopting, or one of the modalities.
Yes, you're right. Rita?
I agree with Crispin, but also I think that it will be important, in order to make sure we are effective, we need to know exactly the areas of work, which we don't know as of now, but we will soon, in order to make sure that these linkages with the bodies are effective for what we want to do. Therefore, I think all of this is very important, and it is correctly put. But I don't think we can advance too much on this, because we don't know exactly what areas of work we will choose for the work plan. But for example, to give an example, certainly human rights, gender, and human rights, and indigenous peoples are in the preamble, and it's like a cross-cutting issue. There, of course, we could be working with the High Commissioner of Human Rights, and so forth. So that would be an example that I understand that's how it would work. But since the specific areas of the plan have not been established yet, I think it's a good proposition, but it's a bit ahead of what we have not yet decided. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marcela, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would be a bit more optimistic than Rita if I say that we should foremost focus on substantive issues and then follow the cross-cutting, of course, as they come by. But I would start by looking at adaptation, mitigation, and means of implementation, and then it is easier for us to. That's my simple approach. Maybe not trying to look at it in a very sophisticated manner, but a very straightforward manner that I would apply, and then I would see rather the focal points on our side, like among us, deciding who is taking which subject, and then liaising with our counterpart from the bodies or committees who would actually help us to build our knowledge, which we could then share with colleagues and maybe contribute in one way or another to the final outcome of our annual work plan. That would be my suggestion, which I would like you to consider. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The tech, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I would like to raise one question before I give the point of view for tech. Here we mentioned the focal point. The focal point for what? For climate change, or the focal point for PCCB?
Focal point for PCCB.
Focal point for PCCB, okay. I think for to maintain the linkage, I think it's very important to try to linking the task force elaborated by all what to say bodies, like in the tech there are several task force. There are task force for TNE, task force for research and development, and a task force for also the linking for adaptation and so on. So I think for to maintain these activities, I think it's very important the task force for tech maybe work closely the task force maybe elaborated by PCCB. And also, it's very important to try to linking the work plan for all bodies. Like tech have a work plan for 2017, 2016 to 2018. It is very important to look like the activities on the tech and in the work plan for PCCB to try to make some linking on that. And the focal point for PCCB try to in the national try to work together with a focal point for climate change and so NDA in our country for tech and so focal point for another activities. I think in this way it is possible to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is very important, to do the link between all the work plan for the tech and for the other bodies. Is there any remarks?
Can I clarify?
Yes.
Just maybe clarify that in the document number 6, we also have included this annex, which is an analysis of what are the areas of work from those bodies, like the TEC, the AC, the Adaptation Committee, the Standing Committee on Finance, that might be relevant to the PCCB. So maybe that goes into what Rita was mentioning, that that's already information that could be useful once the activities are in the PCCB. And also the document from paragraphs 2 to 7 has some ideas of what could be these modalities or these areas, not to preempt what the work plan will contain, but maybe it's already some ideas, at least on modalities of engaging with the bodies, including this idea of the focal points, but also the cross participation meetings or etc. Just wanted to flag that
Yes.
that information is also contained there, particularly the work of other bodies that might be relevant.
Yes.
Thanks. Just to thank the Secretariat again for the reminder of what's in the document, and also for Rita for suggesting a way forward, which works. But just to say that based on the documentation, the background work, excellent work done by the Secretariat, it would have to, and the fact that, again, going back to our theme and the entities that we have invited here, right, the other bodies, the CG, the Adaptation Committee, obviously they're here because we thought they were relevant in the first place. It must be borne in mind that we can't just keep it at adaptation, mitigation, and we also have to look at the implications for reporting, for example. Okay, which is one of the reasons, and the CG, for example, has been critical in determining the guidelines for reporting on our national communications, for example, and not to leave out the implications for the WIM. Okay, so we'd have to be careful to that whatever we come up with is inclusive, and it's while we want to be focused, we have to be sufficiently inclusive in how the both in terms of the themes and in terms of the entities that we will be working with going forward.
Okay, thank you. I suggest that we park this item to the Saturday, the time that we can have some input and to clarify also all this item, because it's very important for us. Okay, if you are agree, we can. Yes, Rita.
I'm sorry, did you say we can agree or we can't? No, but I don't think there is a disagreement. I don't see it as a disagreement, if I may say. I think it's further decisions to be taken, because it is certainly a very important issue for the future of the work, because as we all know, capacity building is an issue that that should be taken into consideration by, for example, the adaptation committee, by the finance committee, etc. So I don't think we're saying we're not agreeing. I think we are saying we need to further our work in order to come back to this, to finalize this issue in a very more concrete manner, but not, I don't think there's a disagreement. Thank you. Thank you, Co-Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita. We would now propose to move to issue of maintenance and further development. Yes.
I was just thinking that how about if we
Okay, CGA.
Thank you, Chairs. Just as it has just been said this morning about the CGE activities, CGE has been addressing capacity building needs of developing parties in the preparation of their national communication and BUR. So obviously this is the niche where the CGE produces some information. Any kind of report which is needed within the frame of national communication or BOR, we would be happy to provide some input for any reporting needs that PCCB would have. Thank you.
Okay. I suggest that if you have some submission, that we can send it to us, and we can have in Saturday some input very interesting to add to this item. Now I think that we are going to move. Yes, CJ.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Something comes to my mind that maybe I could share about this focal point at PCCB level. If you imagine a tube when the information is coming in and coming out, if the information is coming in, that would mean that the system would be acting as if the other constituted bodies, CGE, TEC, CTCN, would provide some information. There would be a kind of flow of information coming into the PCCB reservoir of information, depository of information, and then the focal point would pick up what you need for your own work. That's one possibility. But you could also imagine the other way around, where the focal point at PCCB level is more proactive, so is getting out of the PCCB and directing his activities and his focus towards what the others are doing, and they are picking, focal point is picking information that he needs for your work. So, and maybe the right thing is to imagine a system where the information is going both ways, sometimes into the system, outside the system, but it's not the same kind of activity each time. Thank you.
No, if I understand correctly, maybe it's the understanding that this item considering the importance, would be taken up again on Saturday after having heard the discussions of the technical, the focus area discussions. And maybe what co-chairs are suggesting is that PCV members can, if there is some interest or of this focal point concept, if the PCV members have an express interest to have this function, and for what body, maybe for what Marcena mentioned in terms of the topic that could be relevant, it will be welcome, so that it could fit into the discussions on Saturday.
Okay, thank you. We would now propose to move to issue of maintenance and further development of the web-based capacity building portal. It's the document 5, PCCB 2017-15. We believe that the portal can be a very important tool for the PCCB, and think it will be very relevant to get a clear picture of how we could best make use of it. The Secretariat has already provided a brief overview of the portal earlier today. As outlined in the background document prepared by the Secretariat, the PCCB will invite it to agree of the substantive areas of work for which it wishes to make use of the capacity building portal in order to progress work. Provide guidance to the Secretariat on the maintenance of the and further development of the web-based capacity building portal. Agree on outreach activities to enhance the visibility of the capacity building portal and increase the overall awareness and stakeholders with regard to the portal. I would now like to open the floor for initial reaction and view of this subject matter. I give the floor to the member of PCCB.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I have already expressed views this morning on the networking part. Remember, small n, not a capital N, right? Small n. Networking aspect of the portal. But the other aspect I've been giving some thought to is the fact that while we, for example, for Article 6 of the Convention, we have Article 6 focal points. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall us having capacity building focal points in or that kind of system in place where parties can identify someone as as a focal point who would be the primary person of contact, the primary contact on issues put into capacity building in particular. Because I remember, for example, over the years we've had regional meetings of Article 6, which is public and educational awareness focal points. The last one I attended being in the Dominican Republic some years ago. It was great. You should do another one in the Dominican Republic, trust me. But that's just one example. But we've never established that kind of network. So quite apart from the organizational network which I spoke about, having persons who would be the primary contact in the respective countries, I think that would also be helpful. So that I think would help to keep the portal going, and because there are people who would necessarily contribute to adding information and so on, and help, and also being the point of contact in case someone is interested in further information on something that has been done and so on in that particular country. So, thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Just adding to the point that Crispin was just mentioning, the idea of having the national focal point on ACE was drawn by the Doha World Program. So it was basically what we want here in capacity building. We want somebody from each of each of us country to inform the secretariat, the committee, the UNFCCC, what are the needs, how they see the progress on the actions they're implementing. Totally agree with Crispin. I don't remember. I don't think there's a capacity building focal point for the country. We do have a capacity building negotiators, and that's the most close of a focal point that we have in each of the groups of negotiations. And I remember that the first workshop for national focal points of AIDS was last year here. And it was a great meeting because it actually gathered, it served as inputs for everything that the Doha Work Program has to implement regarding the government side, the party side. And not only the parties participated on that workshop, they also had observers coming in and observers that actually have collaboration on many of the actions that ACE has on that Doha Work Program. So probably we could explore that idea of having national focal points for capacity building and have that channel of information to actually gather those elements that we need to implement our work plan. Thank you.
Lisa? Yes, Rita.
Okay, this is going further into another issue, which I don't know if it's possible, because I know sometimes I think of innovations that may not be possible to carry at this moment. But the portal was presented today, and I think it has very valuable information. And I think certainly we can use a lot of the information that is there as is. Nonetheless, I go back to the original mandate that we have to increase ambition. So how can we use, is there a possibility that we maybe, I'm thinking on how can this information that is there be used to give us the basis for the identification, because this is what we have. And since we were speaking earlier about the gap, this is what we have. Then the gap, we can analyze. The gap may be, let me rephrase. The information that's there, we can use certainly, because there's a lot of information, and this is what we have. But we need to achieve the long-term goal, the ambition. So once we identify exactly, once we have our work plan and we have identified exactly the themes and actions, as we were speaking earlier, then that probably will give us the gap from that information to where we want to get. I'm thinking out loud. So can we modify, or can we find the tool within the platform that could give us that result? Like I say, I'm thinking out loud. I don't know if the portal is, if it's how friendly it is in order to give us some results, but maybe it's a matter of technical people to do the math. Thank you.
Yes, Rita. I think that we have to clarify what kind of information that we can help us, in the portal. Otherwise, we will have a portal without any help. It's a lot of information, but we don't. We don't. It can't help us. That's why I think that for me, it is very important to specify regarding the objective that we want, to do the link between the portal, the data of the portal, and how it can help the countries. Is there any? Yes, Marcena?
Thank you, Chair. Again, I want to be more upbeat on the value of this portal, which I think is not simply well known enough to contain all the information about all the projects that are there. And I think that one thing that we as PCB members can look at is how to make it widely known, popular, so that because there are really a lot of projects. I just looked into the aggregate data, and it seems improbable to me that for example, in Eastern Europe there were only 198 projects, and when you look into the details, even workshops are included as projects, which is not exactly, a one-off workshop is not exactly a project, and we don't even know how many people participated and so on. So I think that even with this, probably this data is a little misleading, because it looks like half of the capacity building, according to aggregate data, goes to Africa. Yes, I'm not so sure that it really is the case that other regions are so misrepresented. So that's one thing, and we could do it by for example, even going through the SBI recommendations, and then maybe asking the COP for a decision that there is a activity. Please, maybe I'm not going through the right modalities and procedures, but this is the idea that I would have to somehow make official recommendation from the COP to the parties that they internally, through websites and through other communication ways, make the information available. Another matter is that we need to have something like in Wikipedia, so a means of ensuring that actually this data is accurate. So maybe if we could create even volunteers panels that would assess the information before it is actually put on the portal. But maybe I'm going too much into the details, but the main thing which I wanted to say without taking a lot of time is that the portal is a fantastic tool that could provide us a lot of aggregate information. We only have to ensure that this information comes to the portal, that it is true and accurate, and that the categories are reviewed so that they reflect, that they are actually consistent with the goals of the convention, that they are not very specific in such a way that it is not clear where to categorize these activities. And also the volume of activities, I think, is important, because a one-off workshop with 12 people should not be there. Maybe I'm exaggerating at the moment, but we should really look at aggregating information of bigger inputs to capacity building. And then we would have the idea of what's being delivered, and from there we go to the gaps, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair.
It was.
Yes, maybe I would like to emphasize a bit what you're saying, if I understand correctly. Similar remarks in a CBIT meeting about the CBIT Global Platform a few weeks ago. They intend and they want to develop a web portal, making a lot of information available. And I just remarked with others that there were plenty of portals already. So there are plenty of portals, plenty of information is already available within many in various initiatives and clusters. You can search through the web and reach the information by yourself, plenty of time. So that's one point. The second point maybe is that to understand what is to be found in the mission of the portal. Is it to the portal makes the data available and tries to get all data available? And like if the availability of data was an added value by itself, I don't think so, because data are already available, as I said, in plenty of portals. So what should be the added value? What would be the added value? Could be the added value of the data into the PCCB portal? Probably not to have the raw materials, the raw data, as many portals do, but to pre-digest and to interpret the data and to put some meaning into the data. So what you said, remember your name just previously, is about, I think, this, to be smart about the data. So to be able to categorize the data which are made available in a way that makes sense to the experts and that they can exploit those data smartly. So it's not enough to say that the volume of activities reported in Africa is 46, as you said. Maybe the function somewhere of the PCCB thing is to interpret those data in order to give the correct meaning and information about those data so that they can be exploited by people interested in capacity building. So I would tend to think, I would see something as a smart portal, not trying to do as many others do to get all the information available, but to do some pre-treatment of the information and present them in a way so that they can judge the information by graphs, by meaning, by conclusions, interpretations, so they can take this information. So that they understand what is happening in Africa, what is happening in Asia, and they do the correct judgment. If we are all experts in this room, but we have not plenty of time to exploit those data, very little time. So in a way would be the web portals, the most information would be in this web portal, the less useful would be the web portal, because you would have plenty of information, you cannot, and you don't have the time to exploit them, unless there is some pre-treatment, pre-digestion of those data that make them useful. There's an added value into the PCCB if they do something that the others don't do, so they put the correct interpretation of the things so that the others can move on. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Co-Chair. And I would also follow my ideas with Azana, because she posted, I associate myself with her. I share the same view with her. And also our colleague from CGE gave us also some very important clue how to deal with this portal. Well, you know, as we all know, our portal is quite young, just a few years to now, and it already has a lot of information there. Right now, we are discussing the way how to make it better. And there are two things I want to address. First is the information. rich or elaborate more information in this portal. We all know for capacity building, there's an important part of the capacity building activities is to deliver the best practice and the good lessons we learned during those either project or other activities we try to build capacity in developing countries. So currently, there's not much information has been included in our portal. I think this could be a direction we just try to, in future, to include more of those information in the portal in a way which will, how to say, present or something like that. The second thing, also, well, as our colleague from CGE said, that there's a bunch of portals, all kinds of information. We are in the time the knowledge just explode everywhere. And for us, I think, well, concerning the nature of capacity building, it's cross-cutting with a lot of things. And even under the UNFCCC, there's a lot of existing bodies, they're doing capacity related work. So there's a direction we need to try is to establish the linkage by this portal with other thematic bodies, and then we have kind of connection with them. This might help us to solve the problem what we are having right now, also for the PCCB and the connection with other bodies. Thank you. That's.
Thank you very much. I think, as Espinosa said today, it's time. Yes, no, it's time to make coherence and coordination, I think. And I believe that the portal must establish some coherence and coordination and to share experiences between the countries. That's why I think that the mission, to specify the mission of the portal is very important to have the same meaning. What is the objective of the portal? I give the floor to Crispin. Okay.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I've taken very good note of the intervention so far, and the last few, including the one from our representative from the CGE. And in terms of enhancing the portal, I'm wondering to what extent we can add some more interactivity and more real-time components. For example, I'm just thinking, again, subject to the time and capacity of the secretariat, because I know these things take work. For example, we want to consider for even occasionally say a quarterly webcast, or a live chat room where you can have people talking on specific activities, specific issues. The possibility, for example, of even requesting views on specific topics, via the portal. Okay, and then that is where your focal points then become useful, because you can see your focal point on capacity building, blah blah blah. We are seeking your views on X, Y, Z, and and I also want to, and the way that links in also is if you also allow organizations that are registered somehow on the portal and give them access where they can send in views on, their views can be solicited on certain things. So, for example, centers of academic excellence, for example, I'm just thinking from my region, so the University of the West Indies may have particular capacity in a specific area. They're not party to the convention, but if they say a registered organization, submit views as well. So it's just, and that can then provide background information or data in some, which can allow in helping to frame some of the discussions on capacity building. So these are just some of the possibilities that we could look at, again, subject to the capacity, human resource capacity, and other constraints that the Secretariat may have. But these would certainly enhance. And also, I think if you're offering live content, for example, that would attract a certain audience. Right? There's some people who may not necessarily want to just go and download documents or whatever, but they want to participate in an event or something of the sort. That would, where they can actually provide their views live, or they can follow it, with the technology that is available nowadays. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all to my colleagues for the discussion and to the observers. I think we have just spotted an activity which the PCCB can focus on. The colleague from the CTCG or CTG, well, he expressed about the importance of having, instead of having raw data, like it's in most portals of the world, to have it more digested and a smarter use of that data. In other words, it's a technical matter. And obviously, there has to be a brain behind it, because what we need is to filter it, regroup it, interpret the data in order to serve for the purpose of capacity building. So I think there is already there an activity that it's clearly identified through the conversation that we just had, and it's a void that we could fill, or a gap that we could fill. Finding an intelligent solution, having taken into account all this data that's already there. So I don't think it should be that difficult, but I don't know about technology that much. But it's a good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The first is that actually that we have a second ultimate problem. After we have ultimate problem 2 degrees Celsius, now we have ultimate problem, the capacity problem. So, and if capacity building, one as basic issue of capacity building is stakeholder engagement. In the context of improvement of the portal, I think that the portal should be global interface of stakeholder engagement. So that is beyond data and beyond information. So as basic principle of with capacity building portal, it should be a global interface of stakeholder engagement beyond data and information that share through that portal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, before.
Yeah, thank you. I think this element is very important to make a further development on capacity building. But for African country, yes, I'm here for tech, but I talk about for developing countries. We have several problems for website connection. Is sometimes very difficult for sharing document information on data. I think when I listen several proposal, I'm wondering if it is possible for PCCB to identify or to evaluate to assess the need of capacity building for each country regarding TN, for example, for technology transfer. Now, each country try to make a technology need assessment to know the capacity or the technology available for country for transfer technology. In this case, I think it is possible to make capacity building need assessments for each country for to know to move forward to make further development on that way. It's possible to discuss on that and to move forward. Thank you.
Rita?
I believe everything is possible, certainly, but there is the issue of money. It's always the issue of money. But we take it into account. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I won't take much time. Just wanted to answer a couple of doubts raised in this conversation. I do agree that there are a lot of portals and a lot of information, but I think that the UNFCCC is an institution of trust, yes? So I think that everyone would rather seek information from this website than just browse the web to look. And anyway, I see the value of having a library of capacity building projects in one place, to put it that way, because that would also refer to projects that are already closed, in order to have a picture. And this is important, especially for us in our other hats when we work for the governments, when we need to have the idea about what is happening in capacity building on various levels, at regional level, at the continent level, at the level of particular countries with which we have bilateral relations, and we would like to do something with them. But we would like to know what is the starting point. So in that way, this portal, I think, is a very important achievement. And since this is a portal which asks for proactive approach of users, I mean, it's not actually the secretariat that is tapping in the data; it's the users. Am I not correct? So the only thing is to make it known, so that people know that they can put information there. And I myself have given information about this portal to several people that are working on capacity building projects, and I have to say they didn't know about it. When I started working on a project 4.5 years, I started from identifying other projects in the country, and I found out that there was no such information. So we spent about a week preparing a table containing information about projects that were being implemented in the 6 countries in the region, and then later we shared it with some international organizations. I'm not going to name them here because they should have given us information and not the other way around. And I was working for a private consortium, yes, but this means that there is no such information widely available. So we should really support this portal and try to think how to make it really a repository of all the information and how to make it viable.
Thank you very much, Richard. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Although my colleague from NO was the first one to... Yeah, I just wanted to submit that while the discussion was going on, I had an opportunity to go and interact on the portal itself. My observation is that, first of all, this is a very good portal, which can actually provide a good basis for us to access certain information, which could be very pertinent when it comes to understanding how far we are moving when it comes to developing various capacities in different parts of the world. I think the key issue is that while we appreciate the efforts that have been made, I think we need to do more on this particular portal in terms of making it very interactive. I was trying to access certain information when it comes to for example, just being practical, enabling activities. When I went to Zambia, it only gave me 7 activities. So I tried to click on the 7 activities. They couldn't come out. So I would appreciate that we enhance it further based on the fact that we have now the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, and one of its mandate is to actually forge linkages with other bodies and also institutions outside the convention. So this particular portal can provide that particular route for us to actually link ourselves to different institutions and other bodies. So we need to make it very interactive, and also to make sure that the portal itself provide up-to-date information that we need to make informed decision as a committee. Yeah, and the other issue is just out of my curiosity, we know that there will be some vital information that will be needed at a particular time as a committee, just to assess the effectiveness of the works that we are doing in terms of facilitating capacity building in different areas. I don't think that it will be so much easy for us in the current state to get that information, then you analyze it, and it will take long. So maybe you need to put in another feature that will actually help this particular committee to actually get a quick result when it comes to assessing the effectiveness of various capacity building initiatives that are undertaken in the context of our 2016-2020 work plan. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you very much. Excuse me.
No worries. I have 2 points I want to make. The first is that I'm kind of concerned with the time and the cost that it will take to really update the portal and to make it more accessible. And I want to make, or to just have in mind that tomorrow we will have a presentation from the NDC partnership, and they are about to launch the third of their visual tools at the next COP. On NDC implementation. Even though I would really like to see a merger of the 2 portals, I understand that might be difficult. Still think we should explore it, but at least we should see if it's useful to link the 2 and to explore possible synergies in this regard. And the second point is that I think we would really benefit from the coffee break.
Yes, thank you very much. It's time to coffee break. We are going to take note for all the suggestions that we have. And also we are going to match that with the work plan, and I lead the secretariat to handle that, okay?
Thank you. I mean, as the co-chair has said, we'll take a note of the suggestions, but I also would like to flag that there are cost implications. There could be cost implications. So just wanted to flag that in terms of what, if we're looking at a broad revamping of the portal. So just wanted to flag that. And as the co-chair said, maybe the issue of the portal can also be revisited a bit in light of the activities of the work plan that might include some function for the portal. So.
Thank you very much. Coffee.
Coffee is ready.
Yeah. $15, okay? 15. 15. Mhm.
Okay. 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 Very good. Very good.
If I may, I shared this with Mohammed earlier. A group of us are organizing universities around the world.
Please, we are going to start.
We'll be here the whole time, and if at some point you want us to talk briefly about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, take a look when you get a chance. I know you have plenty of things to do.
Yeah. Thank you.
But we're here the whole time. So.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay, we are going to continue.
In spirit. Yes.
The floor is open for the observer, and you are invited to submit the observation and view as well as a comment in writing if you want, to the co-chair by through the secretariat as soon as possible. But if you have some remark or some observation, the floor is open for the observer. Yeah, you want the floor? Yeah, yeah. Yes, please.
I think it might be good to delay the rest of that discussion until after we hear the presentations tomorrow.
That means that we are going to close the meeting. But before closing the meeting, we would like to make you aware for an invitation to a networking event that is co-hosted by UNFCCC Secretariat together with the Women Delegates Fund, which is taking place this evening from 6 to 8 in the Club Lounge of WCCB. The PCCB has specially been invited to participate as well as to take part in a short panel discussion. Thank you very much. Yes?
Co-chair, before you say the meeting has been closed, I have one issue to raise with the secretariat. I remember very well when we were making submission on the portal itself, the secretariat came back to us to say, oh, this is dependent or has cost implication. And I know very well actually in our decisions, the web-based platform was one of the key issues, that key area which was emphasized. So it will be very important that this particular committee is facilitated in any way to ensure that they achieve their goal. And I take into consideration, we know that currently the secretariat doesn't have adequate resources, but when we are actually looking at issues of the PCCB, and we realize that web-based platform was the one which was actually 90% emphasized when it comes to how this particular group will interact with other institutions and everything. So I think the secretariat needs to bear in mind this particular issue to ensure that this particular committee is facilitated to do its work. Otherwise, we take note of the financial implication of all the issues that we are discussing and the recommendation that we are making. But on the web-based, I would suggest that we need to be facilitated as a committee.
Just only to support the idea of my colleague.
Okay. Okay.
No, thank you. That's very well noted, and we will do our best. As probably you know, I mean, there are some issues of resource constraints, and I think that I appreciate that being flagged, and I think it's also very the secretary herself is very much aware of these issues, and I think it's also being discussed in other the negotiations actually during the SBs currently. So thank you for that.
Do you want to take the floor?
No, you can close, but before Mohammed is closing, so I think it has been quite a good exchange of ideas and views, and but still, you know that there is we realized that quite a lot of work to do before we can even finalize our work plan. And tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day, but it's mainly learning for all of us, and still I emphasize that what I said already before about the observers, that please don't be afraid of approaching us with the written intervention. It's like the intervention from the floor, so we consider it and look that can we use it in our work. Yes, please.
Can you tell us where to send such an intervention?
That's true.
Please, that would make it just so we don't blanket the room with different emails. I appreciate the opportunity you're giving us. Thank you.
What?
Climate finance capacity building.
Climate finance capacity building, because it's the finance is in the same team.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a good exchange of views. There are several cross-sectorial issues, and I am sure by the end of our first session, on Saturday, we will have had some idea about the most ahead of us. Thank you very much.
Just some housekeeping information. Tomorrow we will reconvene at 9 a.m. also in this room for the focus area discussion. And it will comprise presentations, panel discussions, and also breakout groups. So looking forward to a very active and productive discussion. Thank you.